Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hello, I guess.
Hello. I guess it's me you're looking for.
I guess it's me.
I suppose I can see it in your eyes.
Unconfident Lionel Richie.
This is issue number 369.
Most of the night. Most of the night. Most of the night.
Some night long.
Some night long. Some night long. It's really good. That's it. That's the one. Some night long. Some night long. That's good. That's really good.
I need more Lionel Richie songs.
Those are the only two I had. I only had those queued up. Yeah.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from. I don't even think I did the first part, did I?
I don't know. You know what? Take it again.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself. Yeah, I know you did it.
Long,
some night. Some night
long,
some night, some night.
The octopus's facial joke from Ghostfacers this week. I know we only recorded that
I'd like to be
down on my knees
for an octopus's facial with you.
If you're not listening to Ghostface, you got to get over there.
You're missing out.
Within 40 seconds, I would go from an octopus's facial joke to 9/11.
Well, that's a baseline.
It's an aggressive left turn.
Yeah. That's a baseline for us.
Well, no, I was talking about the plane.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here, baby. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. No, now you got to do the second part of it.
I technically had already done both.
Do it again.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a one-take Jake, baby.
Yeah, that's us.
Hell yeah.
Is that a thing from Jake and Amir?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what else would you say one take Jake?
Yeah. It's where he gets insecure about how good Amir is at rapping. He tries to rap and he calls himself One Take Jake.
Really?
He keeps having to start his rap over.
I mean, that's really funny. Like, hold, this is the time.
Yeah, yes. I'm One Take Jake and I never start over. Ugh, let me start over.
I do like when they make Jake insecure.
Those are some of the best episodes. I mean, that's true of almost any comedy pairing.
Mm-hmm.
You establish who's the straight man and who's like the wacky one. And
Yeah.
it's always fun to flip
them. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
fun when Joey is the voice of reason and Chandler's freaking out.
Wow. Yeah.
You know.
Very relatable.
Yeah. What's more current than Friends?
Yeah, a thing that they've had to like recreate multiple times and have different versions of Friends, like, oh, I don't know, New Girl or
Isn't it funny that, like, well, I mean, I guess I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know if there are.
How I Met Your Mother.
But, like, there's a version of The Office in a bunch of different countries. There's a version of Breaking Bad in a bunch of different countries. But
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, see, but I don't know if there's necessarily, like, Portuguese Friends.
Oh, maybe.
You know what I mean?
That's a thing.
Sorry, French.
That's a thing. There's a documentary about how the creator for Everybody Loves Raymond goes to other countries and like sees the other
that's
versions.
Phil Rosenthal.
Yeah. There's a whole documentary about that.
He's got that like food show too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If ever somebody feed Phil.
Yeah.
Somebody feed Phil.
Hey Ray.
I love that. That's the impression you
Deborah.
do. There we go. Yeah. Oh, Deborah. Oh, no.
It's me, Ray. Deborah.
Yeah.
Hey Ray.
So this week we're talking about.
If it wasn't already clear what we were talking about.
Yeah. Underworld
Unleashed.
That's right, baby.
Oh yeah.
I read it.
This is not like a BDSM thing. It's unleashed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not leash.
No, it's unleashed. This is free range Underworld.
Yeah. This is vanilla.
Yeah. It's
weird that unleashed is vanilla. Because
it feels like that should be
that should be crazy.
Hey, no, it should be Underworld Unleashed.
Let's do our sex tonight unleashed. And it's like, oh really? All right. Get on your bag.
Fine. but we better do this some night long.
Yes, some night.
Yeah, it's been a long road. It's been a long time since
you, my friend.
it's been a long time since we've had like something to read.
Yeah.
Schedules.
I mean, look, all next month, lots of stuff to read.
Totally. Schedule. Yeah. Prescribed
Thing
reading.
I'm prepared for.
Prescribed reading month starts next month.
I've done a lot of preparation for.
Well, I didn't want to bring it up until later in the episode when I was going to gotcha.
Yeah. No. You could tell how prepared I am when I was like, hey, how many issues is this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Hell yeah.
But so we read Underworld Unleashed. So what we read was the 25th anniversary graphic novel, which includes, it's sort of a weird one because Underworld Unleashed like had some one-shots. It had a 3-issue series, and then it was like there were tie-in issues of all the main titles. So it wasn't like Final Crisis where there's like Final Crisis 1 to 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this book is Underworld Unleashed 1 to 3, and then like 4 or 5 of the one-shots put into chronological order. So the last issue in this book is Underworld Unleashed 3. The first one is Underworld Unleashed 1. But in between, there's one-shots and stuff like that. So it reads a little disjointed. It's a little bit of a weird one. Just off the bat, what was your like impression of it? What were your thoughts about it?
So, thing I just realized, I think I may have read it only half of it, from the middle of it to the end of it, based on where it was when I opened it.
I see.
It wasn't started back to the beginning.
Right.
But I think I got the gist of it.
Sure. Oh, I love that. This is Titan Season 3 again, baby. Hell yeah.
I mean, the general thing is the devil like kills a bunch of people and takes over the like DC universe, and they gotta kill the devil.
Oof.
Neron, the devil.
Neron is a demon that they heavily imply is Satan.
Yes.
Specifically, not Lucifer.
No, they say Satanus a bunch of times, but
no, Satanus is a different character.
It's a different character. Yes, I know that.
Lucifer is also a different character, but they say that if you listen to Ghostfacers, we talk about how Lucifer and Satan are different entities in kind of old biblical lore and things like that. And it's only more modern kind of interpretations that have made them one thing. So in DC, it's the same thing is true. Neron is basically a substitute for Satan, not Lucifer. This story is about Neron breaking free, coming to Earth, and making deals for souls.
Yes,
he's a real Crowley of himself.
Yes,
he's making deals for souls. He's making a big power play, and ultimately he wants to, destroy the Earth. So he's making deals to villains in exchange for their souls. There are all these kind of Faustian bargains that have like unforeseen like strings attached and stuff like that. He tries to make overtures to some heroes too for them to sell their souls, and in general he's exerting his hellish influence on Earth, which is escalating anger, violence,
when
tensions.
He's around, when he's near people, he makes them more angry, more
totally. And as these like souped up criminals are going on a spree, it's also the influence of hell is like affecting the Earth, and to the point where at one point like there's a panel that's like the president is like gently fingering the nuclear button.
Yes.
It's like, wow, what a way to put that.
He loves the.
I mean, it's the 90s. We know what president was gently fingering.
Yeah. I wouldn't say gently.
I mean, when called upon.
I painted the White House white, if you know what I mean.
Jesus.
But yeah, so he basically trading
more like the Lincoln bedroom.
There it is.
Anyway. The ovum office.
I was gonna
that's where they get
I was gonna say the oval O face
orifice. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
O face
or that. Yeah.
But yeah, so he kidnaps Superman.
Well, we think he's kidnapped
Yeah,
Superman. He hasn't actually, because Superman is mysteriously absent.
Yeah.
There is a sort of montage of him going to heroes and like making these soul deals with them. And as they, he goes like, "Well, I really want the purest of you." And he's like, he so heavily applies it Superman that it almost feels like a bait and switch.
Yes.
When we learn that he's actually after Captain Marvel's
That's right. Yeah.
soul, which is very interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's not a super complicated idea of an event. His end game is pretty easy. It's just like buy up a bunch of souls, get a bunch of power that way, unleash hell on Earth, destroy the world.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. But the event was rather large because in addition to all of these issues that we read, it also spanned into like tie-in issues where the villains that he gave these sort of like upgrades to are out in the world fighting different heroes and stuff like that. Not necessarily the heroes you'd expect them to fight. Like Mr. Freeze fights Green Lantern in one of them. Like they're all just kind of Catwoman, I think, fights Grodd. You know, like there's all sorts of like weird matchups out there in the world.
Totally.
So, of what you read, from wherever to whenever, what do you think of Neron as a character?
I think he's interesting. I don't really love his like imagery.
Yeah, see, Neron's interesting because I feel like, other than being like jacked, I feel like they deliberately make him have this kind of like bouffant, like businessy kind of thing going on.
It kind of reminds me of a Marvel character that we're about to see in the new Guardians movie.
Adam Warlock?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he also has like his like main suit has like such parallax armor to it. Like it's really that kind of like 90s like armored pauldron kind of like look.
It's like if Adam Warlock and Kingpin were one person.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
It's a weird vibe.
It's funny, like the his kind of like when he wears like a business suit when he shows up sometimes, and he has kind of like the long flowing like Fabio kind of hair.
Yeah.
They take that idea, plus he shows up later, like post New 52 in a Constantine book, the Hellblazer or something. And in that one, he has more of like a kind of like pompadour sort of thing. But in both cases, you can read kind of Trump into him a bit.
Totally.
In the Hellblazer one more specifically, because he's buying up like soul real estate.
Sure.
You know, like they really like lean into it. But in this, it's still just the idea of like making deals and like being this kind of like craven. Like he's clearly inspired by like the 80s capitalist kind of thing still. It may not be exactly Trump, but like
the big white suit.
But that idea, even in 95 or 96 when this was, is still like obviously like a pervasive idea because he's very clearly that way.
Yeah, it was an interesting like concept. I just didn't love the visual.
Right. Is it like the design or like the art itself?
A combination, I think.
Right.
I sort of didn't love either of them. I don't like the art in general, but I also just don't like the idea that it's like this like giant hulking thing. Like I'm just like,
and he actually is massive in the Oracle one shot. She talks about how enormous he is. Like he's bigger than Blockbuster. He's bigger than yeah.
And so it's like uninteresting to me.
Right.
But and then to make him just like a white guy, I'm just like ugh.
Sure. So we should say this is an event like the main books, because there's tie-ins in that, but it's written by Mark Waid.
Yeah.
And the art is Howard Porter. Howard Porter, still very prolific artist at DC. Did a big run on Flash with Joshua Williamson and everything.
Yeah. Don't like the art.
Interesting.
Storytelling's good.
Yeah.
I think Mark Waid's always great. I think that the general concept is really cool. I like the soul stealing thing. I like it being about Captain Marvel. I love that. I think that's really interesting.
I think Captain Marvel fans also like the acknowledgement that he is the purest heart.
Yeah.
Superman, obviously great.
But
the purest heart is
because at the
Billy
end of the day,
Batson.
Superman still like his focus is Lois, his family. Like
he is Superman is incorruptible, but like it's possible to corrupt.
Yeah,
Captain
Well,
Marvel
Billy Batson is like not about anything.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just about goodness. And
yeah,
and I think
I
really
like that too. Yeah,
I was a great sort of like switcher. I also loved that the hero was also trickster.
the Trickster. Yeah,
So weird.
the Trickster is so big in this story. It's
Such a random character to put in such a pivotal role.
Wade has a run on Flash. He obviously loves Flash characters because Abracadabra, the Rogues at the Rogues at the beginning of this, which you may or may not have read.
Nope.
And then Trickster, obviously through this, play relatively, if not important, they play spotlight roles.
Yeah.
Through this, like the Flash Rogues are really present in this story, which is interesting.
They put a lot of really interesting focus on like third tier characters in general. But yeah, you're getting Firestorm in this as well. Like, definitely some big like Flash characters are in this. I love the Justice League sort of version that we get in this as well.
It's a weird lineup. So Superman,
Blue Devil, like
Blue Devil's in there, Captain Atom's in there. But we also see like different kinds of teams. Like there's a little bit of like a proto Justice League Dark team that has like Deadman, Phantom Stranger, Zatanna. Alan Scott, Sentinel is in there. And then you also have, like your, is it like JL Task Force people like Triumph, Gypsy, stuff like that. You get like the full armor booster golds in a little bit of it.
Some weird mashups for sure that I'm not used to seeing.
I think as an experience for reading, a weird thing about this Underworld Unleashed book, which is not 100% its fault, it's just like, what are you going to do, is that there's actually very little focus on the deals. You see Neron go around a bunch, and you see some deals happen. The notable one is the Blue Devil deal. Where he wants to have an actual shot of being a famous movie star again. And the way that he gets it is his longtime collaborator, the one person that stuck with him, dies in a helicopter accident that he caused without knowing it. And her death spurs a bunch of Hollywood agents to remember him and reach out. And like that, like we really see that deal play out. The Blue Devil has a bit of an arc through the 3 issues of the main series, but otherwise all of the villain stuff really plays out in the one-shots, which we're going through the main titles. So you'd read like Batman whatever number, or
Calendar Man in there,
or like Green Lantern whatever number, and you'd like be following up. So like Shadow Thief, Grodd, Mr. Freeze, Killer Moth who becomes Charaxus, like all of these kind of things that happen. You follow up on them in like Teen Titans number 31 or whatever it is. And so when you read this book, you just have to be told a lot that Neron has been making deals with everyone. Because you don't really see too many of them. You see a couple of key ones.
Blue Devil pissed.
You see some of like the big time villains, and then you see some of them get taken off the board early on. But and you see Blue Devil, and otherwise we sort of skirt around. We see a lot of failed deals with other heroes. A failed deal with Batman to bring back Jason Todd. A failed deal with Superboy to be Superman. A failed deal with Oracle, which actually isn't even a soul deal. Neron
he was just like, just work for me.
Yeah, exactly, which is sort of interesting.
He's just like be my archivist, and I will give you your legs back. I'll give you some powers that'll make you stronger than Superman.
It's wild.
She was like, basically he gave her everything, and I was like, I'll take the deal.
I like her comeback though, which is like, no one works for you for long enough without it doing something to their soul.
Which is good.
It's a good
line. I would totally take.
There is kind of a moment though too where it almost feels like she regrets it, where he's like, all right, fine, no deal.
And she's like, well, wait, that's it?
Wait. Like, it does kind of feel like she's like, oh shit, did I just...
I wasn't sure if she was just expecting him to react, or...
I think it's probably more that... And she does express a lot of shock about how powerful he is, that he could just come and go, that he knows all this stuff.
You can create like versions of her around her.
Totally, but it does read a little bit like her being like, oh, but wait.
Yeah.
Which is sort of interesting.
Totally.
Is there stuff that you didn't like in what you were reading? Like, I know you said in general you don't like the art.
But,
But was there anything else where you were like, oh, I actually don't I don't dig that. Or whatever.
I don't love the portrayal of Wonder Woman. I don't think that's super accurate to me.
She's not in it a ton. Not in this kind of, not in what's collected in this book.
No, I just think that, like, one, the art is terrible for her.
Right.
I'm looking at a very specific image that I think you'll see. What I mean.
Yeah, this is very 90s art.
Which I hate. I find that it's a lot of like weird faces and like the art's the big problem I have. I think the writing is mostly good.
Yeah.
I think that Mark Waid's always pretty decent. Like I like a lot of his stuff. I think like taking on a lot of characters and trying to get their portrayals is always really challenging.
Yeah.
When you're more trying to tell a story rather than capturing perfectly a lot of characters like individual identities.
I will say I think a problem to, in this book, we only really see Wonder Woman in the context of Underworld Unleashed 3, which is the heroes have broken into hell and are fighting, but hell is having an effect on them. So we're seeing more aggression, more
the only
anger,
one that's not getting affected
more
is
violence. It's
Captain
only Captain Marvel who's shaking it off. So we are kind of seeing like the worst sides of the heroes that we like, which is admittedly not that fun.
No, not at all.
But I think it works, but I get it too, as like whether or not you enjoy the experience. But I'll say I think the story does a tasteful job, but I kind of hate that we have to have a Killing Joke relive in the middle of the Oracle one shot.
It's just like, all right, yeah, we get it. She has PTSD.
Yeah. I like the sort of magic stuff that we get earlier on. I think the artwork, I think, looks great. I think Etrigan looks amazing because he's kind of like stringier. It makes me think of like a kind of creepier, ghoulish, almost like Hellboy, like a Magnolia kind of thing.
Yeah.
Alan Scott as Sentinel, going to hell. I think I like seeing the magic characters, Phantom Stranger. I like seeing what happens to the Spectre, who becomes the Spectre agrees to a deal for Neron.
Yeah.
Corrigan doesn't. Yeah. So they get split up, but then the Spectre is like, oh, fuck, now I work for a demon. Oops.
Yeah.
The Spectre has such like a long history of fucking up on its own. And they even bring it up in this thing. They're like, why do we keep letting him? Why?
I really didn't like the Flash's portrayal of like when he was in hell. Like I really hated that.
Right.
It just it bugged me, like seeing these characters. I'm like, okay, I know, but these are like the best of us. Like I get that Captain Marvel's the like best, but like
I think you might have missed an earlier bit in this. Like the Flash gets a visit from Neron. Neron offers to bring back Barry Allen. And I think that's a good moment is to see the Flash actually in hero mode, which is nice balance to when they're in hell and we're getting this other thing happening.
I really liked the Barbara Gordon part where they were looking at her like reporting and like data and like all of her like notes that she's been.
Your boy loves a sort of meta thing in a book where it's like, here are my files, and you go like, I wish I had files on every character.
Yeah,
like, now I do.
Now I can read through them and like
it's like what I like in
Watchmen
or Dark Crisis Big Bang, where it's like Barry's been traveling. Here are all the Earths I found so far, and you go like, yes, fuck yes.
Yeah.
I love that shit. So I think that's a cool device. It almost functions like things that come later, like Multiversity Guidebook or things like that, where it's like in the book, we cut to supplementary reading.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with like video games. I always love to like read a book on a shelf and stuff.
But truly, that's the way we catch up on a lot of these villains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of what they're up to. If you're not reading all of the other tie-ins, right?
Yeah, so I really like that. But yeah, I loved the ending. I loved the general concept. I just I would love more like religious ideology and stuff in there. I think they throw a little bit of it at the end, but
but I mean, very little of it is about religion. I do think there's some stuff in the tie-ins that involves like heaven and that, and they're like, well, we don't really get involved. Like they're pretty hands off.
But yeah, that would be more interesting. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's a decent.
Is it like an interesting enough idea, or is Neron an interesting enough character, especially in the context of, that we watch Supernatural and stuff like that, that you would want to read something else with Neron? If I like to get more of that character or more of that idea of like soul currency or anything like that. Like
conceptually, I think it's good. I think Neron was probably the weakest character in this whole thing.
Interesting.
Like, I think the concept is a lot stronger than the actual like his writing was kind of weak. Like it was just like, but I'm the devil.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm sure, but like, what's the plan here?
Right.
Like, but like, what's your motivation? And it's like being the devil. And I'm like, I'm Sam Eagle.
I mean, it's true. And I mean, we've already mentioned it. Like, his plan's not like complicated.
No.
There's not twists to his plan.
The Captain Marvel is like the biggest twist of the whole thing.
Well, he's been saying the whole time, I need the purest heart. That'll put me over the edge. The only twist is that he never said who it was and everyone guessed wrong.
Yes.
That's the only twist, is that everyone just assumed it was Superman.
Well, and then the twist is that Marvel. Like he thinks that he can't just take the pure soul, because he gets that and then it's too pure for him and he needs to corrupt it first.
Yes, he was trying to tear down Captain Marvel because A, his soul is too pure, and B, it can't be given altruistically.
Yes.
It has to be like sold for something selfish. But he can't corrupt Captain Marvel, and so then
he sells him it on a deal.
Yeah, Captain Marvel gives him a deal. And I do like the idea that, Trickster says it too, that Neron is compelled to make deals.
Yes.
Like, I like the idea that he's going around giving all these Faustian bargains to people, but ultimately he's also like bound by his own rules. And there's this like thing where like his Faustian thing is like, you can make any deal you want and you get their soul.
As long as it's Corona.
But you also make any but you also will make any deal that's offered. And I think they even say like even a bad one.
Yeah.
And there's something kind of fascinating about that I like, because then Captain Marvel says, you get my soul free and clear, but you let go of you give up on Earth, you give up on my friends. And he goes, fine. And then he can't take the soul, but he still loses.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Great ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably the big thing for me, is that like, I don't think he's that interesting of a character.
Interesting.
And I probably wouldn't want to see more of him unless it was better written. And so I
it's
think
funny because Neron comes back a lot.
And I think he's probably maybe
relatively.
I think maybe he is probably better written in other times. Like I think Mark Waid's good in general, but I just sort of think like that character wasn't fleshed out enough for me.
It's funny because this is the event that introduces him. But I think I agree. Like I actually like Neron in that Hellblazer arc I was talking about better than in here. Which is kind of funny in its own way.
But yeah. That's sort of my thoughts on it. I think it's like it's decent. Yeah.
Out of 5 capes,
I give it 3.5.
3.5. I think I would give this. Actually, I think 3.5 is fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. It's just like it's kind of a
slightly wasted potential. I think. But
the biggest thing that to me that this event does is it's a reset for a bunch of villains. Like you just go like, oh man, can we do something new with so and so? Be like, well, what's our excuse to do it? You go this.
Yes.
Because ultimately, even when Neron loses, and we see it at the end of, we see it with Major Disaster, he keeps the upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay. He no longer has like the soul deal. Well, kind of. There's a sort of like cliffhanger-y sort of ending that way, but he gets to keep his upgrade. So a lot of villains out of this have. It's either reset them to where they were before, like Grodd, who gets his like psychic abilities back, or whatever, or it sets up something new for them, like Blockbuster is intelligent, whatever, not just like a mindless kind of Hulk thing.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing I think this event actually does. The actual hell bit is kind of secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is Underworld Unleashed.
Underworld Unleashed. Unleash me, Underworld.
Oh my god, so much dirtier.
More like Overworld Leashed.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, we got a bunch of questions, so why don't we get to it?
Let's do it. Oh, wait.
Do smoke. What? Oh my god, is this something that's prepared but not prepared?
No, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry.
Oops.
Sorry. Just sorry. Sorry. Just sorry.
So smooth.
Hey, sorry. I realized I didn't put any Facebook questions in.
No, you did not.
I missed it entirely. Okay. Okay, so let's start off by going to Facebook.
Going through the face and the book. Going through the Facebook.
Okay, comes from Braden Ketty, who asks, with Neron being essentially DC's version of the devil, why do you think he's not utilized more often in comics? Would that be something you would welcome? So we're talking a bit about this here.
So he has been used.
He has been used in other things. There are like lots of follow-up stories that involve Hell. I think Neron shows up in Hell to Pay. He shows up. Neron shows up in that Constantine thing. We get Neron in. Oh shit! There's something else too. There's another kind of like Hell thing that happens. He does show up a few times. That's not to say a lot, or all the time or anything, but Neron is like a recurring character. When Hell is involved, you may or may not see him.
Sure.
I think we see Neron in Dark Crisis in the way that we see like a bunch of villains in Dark Crisis, but they're being chained by the Great Darkness. Like they're all just puppets. You're not really seeing like Neron. You're seeing a character that looks like Neron, being controlled by Slade or by Pariah. Sure. So, I like it, but it is funny, like to have he's done his big gambit of like selling souls and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you bring him back, it doesn't make as much sense to have him do that with like big characters. What I think works in that Constantine arc or the Hellblazer, I keep fucking up which book it's in. What works in that one is he's doing it with like regular people, and he's doing it like geographically.
Oh, sure.
He's like turning New York into like his territory by buying up the souls. Mm-hmm. They really make a real estate kind of play for it. But he's going after regular people, and it's more just about like a character like Constantine not only has to fight him, but also has to fight just the idea of like the inherent corruption in people's hearts.
Sure.
Constantine himself even kind of being that way. Like that's more of like a quiet character thing than like a cackly power play kind of thing. And I feel like that works better for Neron. An idea that I like as well is that Neron is not the only Lord of Hell. And so when he is doing these soul plays, it is a power move, right?
Yeah.
It's to gain leverage or to gain power or something like that, so that he can assert himself more in Hell. And that's largely because of the power vacuum there from when Lucifer leaves.
Yeah, because he's not technically the actual devil.
Well, Lucifer
is a real character
and is in charge of Hell, but then when we meet Lucifer in Sandman, Lucifer is like one of a triumvirate that run Hell.
Yeah.
And then Lucifer the show is loosely based on the Lucifer comic, which is him leaving Hell.
Yeah.
So then there's like a power vacuum thing, right? So that's where you get like, you've got different types of demons and different kind of types of areas of Hell. You got Neron, you've got Lord Satanus.
Yeah.
We see Lord Satanus and Blaze in
Blaze.
So yeah.
I kept mixing up Blaze and Firestorm.
I mean, that's fair.
Like just like 90s drawing, especially.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, wait, which one's which?
Well, yeah, you would expect someone that looks like Firestorm to be called Blaze.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, why do I think he's not used that much? I think there's like you could burn out a character that big,
Well, and they kind of did.
And maybe they did.
They jumped
right?
the shark with him a bit.
I think he's probably used the appropriate amount. If you spend too much time in Hell, you might bump into Neron. And I feel like that makes sense. It's like, we don't have to see, I don't know. I'm not inserting, except we don't have to see Lobo all the time. But if you go to space and you go to a seedy bar, you're going to run into Lobo.
Or
you know what I mean? Like characters can have like a niche where they live, and it's okay. And
he feels
I think
like
that's fine.
Penguin in Gotham. That's what he reminds me of. It's like he's a high-ranking guy in Gotham, but like not the guy. And so it's like,
and I'm not reading the Flash, and the Flash is dealing with organized crime, and I go, oh, where the fuck is Penguin?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah.
I think it makes sense the way he's been kind of cloistered off, and I think comics have generally been good about acknowledging that, like, if you go to hell, it's like a 50-50 shot you run into Neron.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. That works
Totally.
for me. Okay, so that's that one. Oh my god.
Yeah, you can just answer. You can ask these questions, answer these questions. You don't even need me.
I think that's it. If I'm reading this right.
I'm so glad you do this.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, here's one. Okay.
Jesus Christ! It's an ask. And
No,
then
sometimes you have to hit like all comments, not like relevant ones. It won't put.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is from Truth, Justice, and Hope.
An irrelevant question.
A Superman podcast. Yes, an irrelevant question. There are several similarities between the opening sequence of Underworld Unleashed and Justice League of America 158. Abracadabra manipulating a handful of villains in a scheme involving natural energy sources. Do you know if this was an intentional homage by Mark Waid or just a coincidence? So yeah, Underworld Unleashed begins with the Rogues, each on a mission given to them by Abracadabra on behalf of Neron. And they, their powers amplified a little bit, and they're each attacking like power stations or stuff like that. You check in with Heatwave, Captain Cold, Weather Wizard, Mirror Master, and forget the fifth one. And another one.
Yeah.
You check in with them. All of them die in the process of doing what they're doing. But what you learn, what Blue Devil sees, is that it makes like a perfect pentagram. That's the thing that kind of releases Neron.
Sure.
He gets Abracadabra to do that for him. Justice League of America 158 is a comic that involves Ultra, and
oh wow,
it also has Abracadabra like manipulating villains. I haven't read anything about that being a direct homage. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think Mark Waid is like a pretty well-read like DC
writer.
Also,
Abracadabra be manipulating.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I just mean like, he does that.
I think the thing with homage though is I think you would need more to line up.
Yes, it needs to be more intentional, I would think, or if it was done well.
you know what I mean? Or there needs to be some maybe a little bit more kind of like poetry to what it's mirroring.
Sure.
I suspect it's largely unintentional, but it is a funny observation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now we're leaving Facebook and heading on over to Twitter.
Twitter. Oh, wait, no.
Oops.
I'm sorry.
First question from Twitter comes from Mosaic Comics, who asks, were any of the villain upgrades permanent, or did they all eventually get undone? So we've talked about one that stayed for at least for a bit.
Oh, Major Disaster. Yeah.
But like long term, they all eventually
I mean, listen, permanence in comics is a pretty...
It's a loose concept.
Yeah. One that we should talk about is Killer Moth. So sure. Killer Moth, Drury Walker, is just a dude who styles himself as like the crime Batman.
Sure.
Where he's like, villains of this town need help. The system doesn't support them.
Funny.
So I'll use my tech in that, and I'll go out and cause distractions to get Batman off your tail, kind of essentially, more or less. In this, he asks for more power and to, whatever. He has some sort of vague thing he asks for. He's not specific enough with it. And he becomes like a monster. A literal moth monster called Charaxus. Or Caraxus. It might have a different pronunciation. Wow. That monster, he stays that way until he's killed in Infinite Crisis.
Wow.
He's killed in the Battle of Metropolis by Superboy Prime, I think. And so that's about 10 years, which for comics is more or less permanent.
Yeah.
Now, in the interim, they do have their cake and eat it too, because there was a thing where he was like as the monster, he was like laying all these eggs, and they were spawning like clone Drury walkers.
Oh.
And then one said that he was someone else, and he was the original killer moth, not the like. There's a weird.
Sure.
They tried to have it both ways. So there's a monster one, and there's like,
but
essentially, he stayed as Charaxus until for 10 years.
Wow.
Relatively permanent
until he died. Yeah.
There's the other version of like what counts as permanent, which is what's the status quo thing that you reset to through continuity or stuff like that. And Smart Blockbuster is kind of like the reset.
Oh.
You know, in the Nightwing series currently from Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, Blockbuster is like fully intelligent but also super strong mob boss. He's like Kingpin or like or like Brick elsewhere in DC.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Brick's not super intelligent, but he's also not like a kind of beast or whatever. But that's an Underworld Unleashed thing. This Blockbuster gets his intellect back, and so that is. There have been, I think, dumb blockbusters since, but if we reset to that again, then you can make an argument that there's a desire for that version of the character to be more permanent. That's maybe a different kind of comic permanence.
Totally.
So I think both of those. I mean, Lex doesn't die of like old age or whatever.
Yeah.
Lex had gotten extremely. What the fuck had happened to him? He had accelerated his aging or something bad happened to him, and he was like dying essentially. And then Lex sells his soul to Neron for his youth and vitality. He basically gets that back, and he uses that to then convince people that all of the stuff that he did as his body was deteriorating was a clone to frame him. And he gets like exonerated of all of it.
Love it.
Every once in a while, you need a classic like Lex duped them all sort of thing to reset him. And so he used that. Like that was fine. I mean, I guess Joker, he got that whole box of cigars. Joker sells his soul to Neron for a box of cigars. Some other villain goes like, "You did it for a box of cigars?" And he goes, "They're Cubans." Which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I think in general, I mean, a fair number of them keep, I think Grodd keeps his psionic ability. I think a fair number of them at least for a while, but also in that reset sense. When Grodd now has a psychic ability, it's not like he went back to no power. You know what I mean? So I think there are quite a few that count in one way or another as kind of like permanent changes or fixes. In the case of Grodd, that wasn't a new ability. That was actually fixing a continuity, like, quote, fixing a continuity thing. Which give him his ability back. Yeah. So.
Nice. All right. Next question comes from our favorite religious representative.
Ooh, Chris Chan.
That's right. Who suggested that I replaced my ex-wife with a dog.
He also suggested you replace me with a dog.
Yeah. And then I said only.
I think he's paid for by Big Dog.
Yeah. And then I responded by saying only in the ways that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're the man now, dog.
Whoa! You're the dog now, man.
Woof.
Chris asks, is Scott Snyder's Apex Lex, i.e. Lex granting villains new superpowers storyline sufficiently different to Underworld Unleashed, or did he just retell the whole story?
Yeah, I think there was a Mark Waid quote or comment at some point where he basically said that
it's like, this thing.
He basically said that death metal was like Underworld Unleashed. More like, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what the quote is. So there is a part in the lead up to death metal they did that "You're the Villain" thing, where Apex Lex. Now, the reminder here is that the Apex Predator from the original evil version of the multiverse that Perpetua made, were split so that they couldn't be as terrifying into Martians and humans. So Apex Lex was essentially a Martian human mix. So he was kind of this terrifying kind of thing. He got these powers. But then he was going around as an acolyte of Perpetua and offering upgrades to villains.
Okay.
A lot of these were technological upgrades. Some of them were not. For example, Black Mask could have like this amazing disguise ability. Captain Cold got like a significant tech power upgrade. On the surface, relatively similar. Why is Neron selling, giving these things and buying souls with these favors? And, it's to plunge the world into chaos and crime and stuff like that, to kind of, the hell on earth thing, to destroy it. Why does Lex give, upgrades to a bunch of villains? It's because they're trying to tip the philosophical foundation of the universe toward doom, as opposed to justice.
Yeah.
In a very broad sense, it's not crazy to look at the similarities of those stories and go,
similar.
But I think I do think it is I think it's kind of a crazy leap to say it's like a ripoff.
I would agree with that.
The idea of like, we need all the villains on board. We've got, this time we're going to win. Here's your, what's the difference between,
it seems like a pretty like broad concept.
So either it's like, I sold my soul and I got like inherent powers, like Shadow in Underworld Unleashed. Shadow Thief his abilities become like meta abilities instead of being the dementia meter. But you could do the same in Death Metal, and you just go like, here's a tech upgrade.
Yeah.
But like, how many times do the villains go to war? They do it all the fucking time. Like,
it's not the same.
I think it's a little crazy to say it's like a ripoff.
Yeah.
But it is not crazy to look at the two and be like, there is some like distinct similarities here between them. The difference is, I guess primarily it's about scale. Death Metal is like the cosmos hang in the balance. Like the entirety of the multiverse.
Yeah.
The fate of like reality as the DC multiverse knows it hangs in the balance.
Yeah.
For Underworld Unleashed, we're not even talking about other planets. We're talking about Earth.
Yeah.
It's a pretty contained story. But it's not outrageous to point out those similarities.
Next question comes from Deadly Podcast of Kung Fu, who asks, after 30 years of continuity growth, would any of the characters change their deals with Neron if this story took place today? Ooh. If so, what do you think it would be? Looking at you, Deadshot.
Oh, yeah. What is Deadshot? That's in one of the tie-ins. Deadshot and like 4 other assassins basically sell their souls to get like their dream assassination. And I think Deadshot's is like a bunch of kids or some shit. Like he sells his soul to kill a bunch of kids. A thing that he could probably just do on his own.
What?
I might have that wrong. I might be... but I'm pretty sure it's something stupid like he doesn't get like... He's like, I want to become a giant gun. Like he doesn't do something insane. It's something like really fucked up like that. Weird. That can't be right. I must have that wrong. But, Deadshot right now is dead.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think we've seen him since he died in the Tom Taylor Suicide Squad series.
Did he get shot?
With the Revolutionaries. I think he did.
Deadshot got shot dead?
Yeah. So I guess the deal he'd make would be to not be dead.
Sure.
That's probably one. Yeah, what's a deal that they would change? I mean, some of them, like I said, were like power resets or things like that. Like Lex is currently healthy. He wouldn't have to make a deal now to be healthy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like he'd probably, I don't know what Lex would go for, but he'd go for something different, certainly.
Yeah.
In the same way that Grodd wouldn't have to get his psionic ability back. Although Grodd had like a secondary thing where he wanted control of Gorilla City, but he needed like a talisman for it. So you might just try that again because he's always after fucking Gorilla City. Yeah, let's see. Who else? A lot of villains made a trade to get their powers either upgraded, like bigger, or more impactful, or to make them go from tech to an actual power. So Shadow Thief's a good example of that. Mr. Freeze did that.
Yeah.
Killer Frost got an upgrade to her powers. So did Major Disaster. So did a few characters. Helgramite became like more of like an insectoid kind of thing. What would they do differently? I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a tough one.
Yeah, based on the characters they are now.
And sometimes it's like I think they would just do the same thing. Or like, what do you want to be like more? Like that's kind of like what I mean is just that's such a villain thing. It's like, but even I have powers, but I want more of them.
But even like Blue Devil would still want to be famous, probably. Like
I think Blue Devil is past that. That's probably a good example.
Yeah.
You know, Blue Devil has had a kind of interesting trajectory. You know, through his time with the Shadow Pact, through stuff in the New 52, after Dark Knight's Metal, when Jim Rook, the Nightmaster, dies, Blue Devil, basically on behalf of Detective Chimp, who inherits the Night Sword but is not looking after the mystical realm of Mira. Blue Devil does. Like, he becomes like a fantasy like warlord defending Mira until Mira doesn't exist anymore when the Lords of Chaos destroy it and that. Like, Blue Devil, I think, has come too far and has embodied like his demonness enough. Because that's a big thing at the end of Underworld Unleashed. He becomes a demon.
Oh, wow.
He's a dude trapped in a demon skin.
Yes.
Right? With a demon trident.
Yeah.
Until in this, Neron kills him, but they're in hell, and Blue Devil comes back just as a demon to fight him. Blue Devil is a demon after that.
Oh, because before, couldn't he like switch back and forth between looking like a demon?
No.
So
because he was trapped inside. Like it was. Daniel Cassidy is like a stunt guy, like an actor.
Yeah.
But he gets locked in this suit that turns out it's a demon skin.
Oh, yes. Because I'm trying to remember what it was like in that Swamp Thing show.
That they just turn him into a thing, I think.
Yeah.
They had a slightly different take on it, but more or less that's the idea of him. So he's still technically a dude in there, even though he had, strength and stuff like that. Yeah. But by the end of this, he's like an actual demon.
Okay.
I think he's come a long way. I don't think he has any illusions about like participating in
the film industry,
or even if there's probably some comic where he gets to again or whatever, but I think it's like Booster, right, where it's like it's actually out of character to revert them that far back. I think
he's grown past that.
Maybe what he would do is like, is there any way that I could like not be tied directly to hell?
Sure.
Could I be the Blue Angel? Could I be tied to a heavenly there might be something like that maybe he'd ask for. I think he would ask for something different
for sure,
because he immediately regrets that shit, right? Like Neron says like I'll give you your wish, great, you'll sell me your soul, can you just do one thing, take out this like power line? And Blue Devil's like, I made sure no one works here, there's no collateral damage, once I get jobs I'll pay to repair it. He's like, he squared it as a hero. He takes out the power line, but then it takes out like the lights that signal like not to fly too low. And his partner's Moira or whatever, her helicopter gets tripped up in power lines and she dies in a fiery explosion. And then that death, like I said, that's what precipitates agents to be like, man, I heard about Moira. I totally forgot about you guys. She was such a good partner to you. I know this is a bad time, but if you ever are interested in working on a project together, well, like
crazy.
And Blue Devil is like, fuck, damn it, I should have fucking known. Fuck you, Neron. Like he knows he thought he outsmarted him, and as soon he knows when he was burned, so he would definitely do something different.
All right, let's leave Twitter and head on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First question comes from Delgado Andrew, who asks, who's got the biggest glow up, design or power wise? Who else should have taken the deal?
Glow up, design or power wise?
Yes.
Biggest glow up. Interesting. I mean, the most drastic one is probably Killer Moth.
Sure.
to go from like dude in colorful outfit.
Yeah,
to
basically from
enormous moth monster.
Went from Batman to Man Bat. Yeah,
that's a pretty big. It's a drastic change. I don't know that I'd call it a glow up.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a relatively significant change.
Who got it the best?
I mean, Lex got it the best. He just got healthy.
Sure.
And then ultimately he didn't know anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it was on a relative scale, I guess, a smaller ask.
Sure, yeah.
But it's definitely a glow up. He was alive. He was healthy. He was young. He used it to get himself exonerated. You know, he and the Joker managed to dupe the other kind of main villains into getting too greedy and got them out of the way. You know, like he just like fully won, basically.
See, but what about power wise?
He didn't really get powers.
Okay, well,
he just got healthy.
Who do you think got the biggest like power upgrade?
Killer Frost got a relatively significant one. She really it amped up the energy vampire side of things.
Sure,
like to the point where it actually might have been not really in her control so much anymore. But it was like she could like totally drain all that like heat energy out of a thing in like seconds. It was like a big kind of upgrade for her abilities.
Sure.
That was a pretty big one, I would say.
And who do you think should have taken the deal?
Who should have taken the deal?
Like, who had it? Like, who could have used an upgrade that didn't, maybe?
I mean, I mean, you pointed out Oracle just on the technicality that, like, it wasn't a deal for her soul. I like her argument, and I think, like, morally she's right. But, like...
I fucking would have.
I think that's that's a not an unreasonable one to bring up.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been smart enough to not taken it.
Who should have? Interesting. Well, I did read a thing that Superboy should have. Because it's revealed later that this Superboy is Con-El, right? He's the clone of Superman and Lex.
Sure.
You learn that because he's like, quote, artificial.
Yeah.
You learn at some point that he doesn't have a soul.
Oh.
So Neron like could have played himself in that moment.
Yeah.
He like Superboy would have gotten to be Superman.
Yeah.
But and it wouldn't have owed anything. But knowing Neron, getting to be Superman would almost certainly mean something horrible happens to Clark.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean?
mean?
Would have taken Clark's soul.
There's no...
He would have probably taken Clark's soul.
Or just he died, or you know what I mean? Like something bad would be stuck on the other side of time, or whatever. Yeah. You know, there's always the fucking monkey paw shit.
Sure,
you know? Yeah. Abracadabra, I guess, technically gets a glow up because his big thing is, we talked about him maybe even just last week, that he's from the 64th century, right? And he uses technology to give off the appearance of magic. And the technology is so advanced that you can't tell the difference. And so what he asks for is actual sorcery, actual magic.
Sure.
But then he's like immediately dispatched.
Yeah, we talked about this last episode,
And at a certain
or 2
point,
episodes ago.
And at a certain point, you just go like, what was magic giving you that the
technology wasn't?
The tech wasn't. Because if your goal is just to deceive, to steal, to stuff like that, like you were fine. I mean, I think he maybe has a comment about like the mysteries of the cosmos or something. Like if you want to unlock like fundamental primal truths about creation, then yeah, I guess magic gets you there.
Yeah,
in a way that maybe tech doesn't. But like, it does feel like I don't know. It feels like he kind of threw his soul away a little bit. It's like you could already basically do most of the things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That felt like kind of a weird one to me.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from the real Josh Gill.
Sexy Gill. Oh, sorry. I should say, like biggest power upgrade. Another one I throw out there. Shadow Thief. Shadow Thief goes from needing the Dimensiometer to having inherent shadow powers. Yeah. He could also manipulate other like create new shadow beings and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And I think he could also like turn people or things. You could drag them into the shadow realm too. Like he basically got like a big upgrade to like what it means to be
That's cool.
Shadow Thief. It used to just be that he could move in and out of the shadow realm and stuff like that, and he needed that belt or whatever. But it became like,
Did that stay?
no, I don't think so. I think by the time you get around to Identity,
That feels like a smart one to keep.
I feel like by the time you get around to Identity Crisis, Shadow Thief is back to like just a dimensiometer guy.
Yeah, I think it would have been better as like the power.
It's I didn't hate the new 52 Shadow Thief.
Yeah.
It was a different character. Her name was Aviva Matula. She was like a Israeli spy or military person or something like that.
Yeah,
But she finds like a shadow suit.
sure.
And then ends up being able to kind of manipulate so it was like technically a tech thing, but I don't know. I didn't hate that one. I think the thing that was neat with the Dimensiometer is that it was driving him crazy. Carl Sands, the original Shadow Thief, I think at a certain point he was like hearing voices. Like he was like, oh shit. You like
Really?
like be phasing in and out of the shadow realm was driving him nuts. Because he was foreign to it. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
I feel like getting the power undermines that. I might be speaking out of turn here, but to me, I actually kind of like him with the belt because it feels like you're dabbling with powers you don't understand. You know, like a character like the Shade is like a shadow being. You know what I mean? And
okay,
like
yeah, that's fair.
I
forgot the Shade exists.
and has like dominion over it, but I think there's something interesting about a character that does not belong trying to wield that power, right? Because we got Nightshade, we got the Shade, like there's Shadow Lass, we have other characters that have like Obsidian, we have so many like Umbra kinetic characters out there, but
yeah, fair. I always forget about that. All right, next question from Draco Folly, who asks, you each take Neron's deal. What upgrades do you get, and how does it bite you each in the ass?
Hey, Richard, if you could make a deal with the devil to get anything you wanted, how would it bite you in the ass?
What do you mean?
What an interesting, strictly hypothetical question.
No idea what you mean.
What a thing we weren't talking about before recording.
Nope. No idea what you mean.
Well, make something up then.
I would be...
You have no idea how fucking close to the mark that question hit.
I would be multiple people so that I could accomplish more things that I wanted.
Yeah.
But then I think I would be jealous of the other versions of me being able to...
Yes, because then you wouldn't be having that experience.
Yeah. And I think that's what it would be.
I think that's a solid one.
Yeah.
And listen, and no less close to home.
I want the world. I want the whole world. Anyways, what about you?
Oh, man. What would I sell my soul for? What would the upgrade be that I
Have
want?
access to all the information in the world?
No. I already have that.
Yeah, and it's cost you your family.
As anyone who listens to this show knows, I have all the information.
Yeah. And all of the downfalls that comes with
And
it.
I can access it. No problem.
Yeah. No one's ever had problems.
Geez, what would I do? I think I mean, this sounds like kind of like a silly answer, but I mean it. I think I want to have the ability to teleport.
Sure.
But I think that
To what end?
I mean, partly that
There's the whole point of these
partly
things.
that I like traveling, partly that I'm lazy.
Okay.
But like I like the idea of just like I could just like just like out of a situation.
Sure.
Like I kind of just like I like the freedom of it. I love that sort of thing. But I think that the bite me in the ass thing is that sort of like that physics thing where it's like every time I teleport, I'm technically destroying a version of me and creating a new one.
Oh, okay.
What does that mean? Is it relevant? Does it matter? We may never know, but I have to live with knowing that. Like Prestige style.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Or like we talked about with the teleporting on Star Trek.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But that's the thing with the Prestige, isn't it? That he like teleports himself.
It just kills a version
But
of
then
himself.
he kills a version of himself. But like, oh, sorry, he's duplicating himself. It's slightly different.
Yeah.
But essentially, yes, you know, that technically speaking, I'm constantly dying and then springing into existence as a new being. And I just have to know that, and that has to gnaw away at me every time I conveniently use the power.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I can't imagine a worse fate.
I'm not even sure what you mean by that.
I don't either, but I kind of just like leaving it hanging in the air
I
for
know
interpretation.
I know you do. All right, let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit.
Yeah, where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
That's right.
No one's ever hitting the nail right on the head.
All right. All right. Fucking turn you into gold, don't you worry. Touch you.
Yeah.
Midas touch. I was making a Midas.
But why?
Because that's what's happening.
You have a Midas touch?
Yeah. But then it turns to gold and I can't enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess technically you are sort of living some sort of Midas parable, I suppose, right now. Yeah. That's not inaccurate.
Yeah. I got exactly what I wanted and it ruined everything.
Well, you know.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. Should see what I did to my dick.
Uh-oh.
Golden Walker asks.
I like how you said that like you should have seen the other guy.
You won't last 10 seconds looking at my dick.
How about this?
Uh-huh.
If you let me look at your dick.
I get to look at your shit. I don't want that. I don't want either of those things.
Subscribe to the Patreon for the full story.
Have we seen Neron posing more of a threat since this storyline, other than just being part of the Council of Eternity in Future's End?
No, I don't think we've seen him be more of a threat.
Sure.
I think this is about
the biggest and baddest he gets.
I think so. I'm he's always a threat because he's like an extremely powerful demon. I mean, he's implicated in like
if he's showing up, it's not good.
Pretty sure he's implicated in like Day of Judgment and stuff like that when like Asmodel takes over the Spectre. Like he's in these other events and things that involve like the celestial forces, right? But I don't think he's ever a bigger threat or a bigger singular threat than he is during Underworld Unleashed. That's my perspective on it.
I mean, from everything
this is his like play for
which is funny because it's also his introduction.
His play for world destruction is
yeah.
Underworld Unleashed. Every other time he's like a player in the tapestry of the demonic or celestial forces. You go like, oh fuck, Neron's here and he's like a big gun, but he's not really the one behind, you know what I mean?
Sure.
That's my general feeling about it.
Yeah All right, now we're leaving Reddit and heading over to the Doc Squad.
Oh shit, fuck.
Yep.
Oh,
Doc Squad.
They're singing happy Doc Squad, just want a Doc Squad and cry, not just another Doc Squad. It's Doc and Score, Doc scored. 3090 from Tick Tick Boom.
Oh,
I've had it stuck in my head. I'm in a real like musical theater mode.
Oh my god, I didn't like musical theater.
I don't, but when I do, it's a problem.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, as basic as it makes me, I'm a fucking Jonathan Larson bitch.
A thing no one's ever said.
I love Rent. I love Tick Tick Boom. Like I'm just something about. I just jive with the way he writes music.
Sure.
And so, Tick Tick Boom's been a problem for me lately.
5,000,
See, it's funny.
Doc Score.
I mean, should have done that. Yeah.
I'm sure you already have.
It's funny. I don't really like that song, but I fucking love Rent.
AIDS.
Everyone has AIDS. Man, I can't tell. I can't tell if that joke has aged well or not. I feel like it hasn't.
I mean, that's South Park in general.
Yeah.
Doc scored. First
Yeah, man, South Park really had like this show is so dumb. And then it had this window where it felt at least like, man, they've really shed some of the dumb stuff. What incisive satire. And then it's that like, oh, why are you justifying like a both sidesism thing?
If
right
anything,
now?
you're just going, let's
like
just make fun of them.
You're the bad guys now. Yeah. It's like, oh, no.
I know you're coming at it from the right standpoint, but like,
I'm not even that convinced of that anymore. That's the craziest part. Yeah.
Just two rich white guys who just like suddenly are like,
they said we couldn't say this on TV.
Yeah, PC culture.
Yeah, that's
literally.
PC principle. They had that whole fucking thing. Yeah. That's what it feels like now. Like, it's hard to like South Park now. I think.
First question from the Doctor comes from Mullet Overlord, who asks, "What do you think is the best thing to come out of the events of Underworld Unleashed?" I'd have to go with everyone forgetting that Triumph exists in the pages of JLTF.
Hey, let's talk about Triumph.
The insult comic dog?
Insult comic dog.
Yeah. Let's talk about Triumph for me to poop on.
Nice.
Yeah. That's what he said.
So, Triumph. This is a Mark Waid character created with two other people, not just Mark Waid. This character was retconned as having been a founding member of the Justice League, but then was like lost in like limbo, and people forgot about them and they were like erased from history kind of thing. We see Triumph in this book. Triumph is the one that's wearing like a blue outfit with like a yellow triangle. Almost looks, at first glance, if you're not familiar with the character, it looks like Guardian, like Manhattan Guardian a little bit. But Triumph is there. They were on the Justice League Task Force. But essentially, the idea was that they had lost like a decade of their life by being like caught in limbo, and people forgot that they existed. And be like, "Don't you remember I was there when the League formed?" And they were like, "Where are you?" And it was kind of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Triumph is in this. I don't fully remember what the sort of tie-in thing was. Does Triumph? I think Triumph is at least tempted to take a deal from Neron, and it's about getting those years back.
Sure.
About like not being forgotten and shit like that. I don't fully remember how that pans out, though, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
I do think what ends up happening to Triumph, though, is... Oh, fuck, hang on. They end up, like, turned into a statue or some shit that gets kept in the watchtower. And then, like, way later, the watchtower gets destroyed in some other event. And then after that, someone realizes, like, didn't connect the dots. Like, this is one of those, like, DC publishing things. If I have this right, here's what happens. Triumph is in this thing, blah, 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 blah. You see them through Underworld Unleashed. Sometime later, they get turned into, like, a statue, or they get Medusa, or, like, some shit happens to them. And they're, like, kept at the watchtower. Sometime after that, watchtower is destroyed, unrelated to anything to do with Triumph. And sometime after that, someone goes, "Hey, wasn't Triumph in the watchtower?" And then goes, "Oh," and then they confirm that Triumph is dead.
Okay.
That's like the arc of this character. It's funny that like this character's, at least for me, this character's arc like is the same in universe as out, which is like vaguely remembered, mostly not there.
That's funny.
Yeah. Because that's the idea of them in universe, is that like, I was there, founding member of the Justice League.
Yeah, that's very funny.
I go, who? Triumph. Triumph could control like the electromagnetic spectrum.
Sure.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
It meant electrical fields, it meant energy blasts, it meant force fields, it meant
sure.
I think they could probably do like hologram stuff, like light stuff. It was anything electromagnetism they could do.
Cool.
Like super powerful character. And but yeah, totally sidelined, like barely really existed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from the Marvelous Ryan, who asks, what was the dumbest deal made in a tie-in? Like, obviously the dumbest was Joker in the main book.
Right.
But what about the tie-ins? What deal in a tie-in should have been made in the main book? Two separate questions here.
Yeah. We talked about the Joker one. He's right. That's the obvious one.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
Joker sells his soul for a box of cigars.
Yeah.
Classic Joker.
Yeah.
The dumbest one. The dumbest one in a tie-in here. I think I pulled up a list of what the deals were. So just give me a sec, because I want to see if there's one that feels obvious. Let's see. Accepted deals. I mean, anyone like Deadline and Deadshot and a couple of other characters that just wanted to carry out their dream assassination, which just seems stupid. Kronos got a pretty big one. We talked about Kronos a couple weeks ago too. His deal with Neron gave him actual time powers instead of just using gadgets and stuff. A deal in a side thing. Actually, do you know what the worst deals were in this that we actually... Well, sorry. I'm not really answering the question. The worst deal that we see in the book we read, that includes some of the one-shots but not the tie-in issues from other things, is stuff with the New Gods, which Neron shows up on Apocalypse and he makes deals with... Because Darkseid is trapped in the Source Wall at this point. And so he steps in and he's like, there's a power vacuum here, and he makes deals with Granny Goodness, with Baron Bedlam, with Vermin Wunderbar, with Dr. Bedlam. Does he make a deal with Desaad or Calibac? I can't remember. He basically makes a deal with all of them. They're all at each other's throats. They all want control of Apocalypse, and they're all kind of pretending like they're holding the seat for Darkseid when he comes back. Like, all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
But the deals aren't like... They're really like nothing material. Like Dr. Bedlam, I think I don't know if he gets an army or if it's just his army starts winning. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I want the power of fire or something. Like, it's not very like defined. Yeah. None of the deals on Apocalypse are that defined. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of these vague, like, do you want power kind of things, but because all of them are being pitted against each other, they all kind of like cancel out. Like, those are pretty dumb, bad deals. And also, it's interesting to see the New Gods in that position in the cosmology, because it's so different from how they are now.
Totally.
Where they're actually treated as more like god beings, you know? And less like just aliens. Yeah. So it's kind of weird to have this like diversion on Apocalypse for Neron. I think those are dumb deals, but that's in like the one shots, which is more or less the main series. The worst deal from a tie-in. I mean, I guess the worst deal. I guess Helgramite, because he just becomes more of an insect, and he could just like lay insect eggs.
Yeah.
No, it's not laying insect eggs. He can like turn people into insects or something.
That's pretty dumb.
It's pretty dumb. I don't think that's a particularly good one. A lot of these are just like they want like more power or something like that.
Is there anything that was like particularly...
one that sucks. Ocean Master gets a staff that gives him more power, but it hurts him every time he uses it.
Oh, that's stupid. Yeah,
that's like he definitely gets the shittiest one. Like that's really bad. The other ones, like there's always like a hook or a monkey's paw thing, but like that's just like while you're using it, it sucks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not like ugh, and now everyone hates me or something like that. It's like as you're using it, you're like ow.
Yes,
like that's pretty shitty. That's pretty bad.
What about something that was so good that maybe it should have made the main book?
So good, it should have made the main book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tricky. Let's have a little look here. Metallo, maybe? The thing that Metallo got was he got a sort of like technopathy sort of power where he could control other machines, but he could also like integrate them. So like if he was in a battle and he got injured and there was a car nearby, he could like absorb it into him, then he'd have this like car component in him.
Oh, okay.
He could take over and incorporate any machinery into his body. Do you remember that image that I showed you of like supposed concept art of Metallo from like an earlier version of BVS?
Yes.
I feel like that Metallo is inspired by the Underworld Unleashed like upgrade Metallo gets. Because that Metallo looks like he found a bunch of shit, like a random jet engine and a thing like that. And it's all just like kind of bolted on like a sort of hodgepodge, like the pack leads in Star Trek, right? That just keep like getting technology and stitching it together.
Yeah.
I feel like that's at least an interesting upgrade or an interesting wrinkle of an upgrade.
Totally.
So many of them are kind of like, they're hard to dramatize, like where it's just like, I'm Killer Frost, but more now.
I'm Frostier.
Or, you know, like I'm Cheetah, but more now. I'm faster and more ferocious. And you go like, okay. But something like that for Metallo, like that's like you're incorporating some more like body horror thing. He's even less human now. Like
totally.
I think that's an interesting thing. It would have been cool if that was more of like a feature of the main kind of thing.
Yeah,
I like that one.
Yeah,
I think
that's
cool
awesome.
One. Yeah.
All right, the last question comes from Lilith, who asks, is there an in-universe reason for why the trial of Superman happens at the same time as Underworld Unleashed? Certainly there's a better reason than Superman is too powerful for this event.
There's not an in-universe reason.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not like, and that's why... I don't think there's a thing where Neron is like, and that's why I chose now. Because Superman's off-world.
Sure.
Because ultimately we learn that like Superman's kind of like the least of his
interest.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything like that. So I don't think there is an in-universe reason.
So do you think?
I think there's only
an coincidence?
See, now that's tricky. It's obviously not. They know Superman is in this trial, like out in space.
Like, because do you think
that's trial of Superman? He's like on another planet in a trial.
Yeah. Like, do you think it would have been Superman had he not been?
I don't feel like that is like a, oh fuck, we can't use Superman.
No,
I don't think so. I could see the argument because it does kind of feel like a Monarch bait and switch where it's like, you know, when Neron goes to Superboy and he's like, oh, I'm after someone I think you know, and he like points to the crest and you go like, oh, Superman, I guess.
Yeah.
Even Superboy is like, it was pretty obvious that he means Superman. Like when the heroes are talking about it later, Superboy's like, I think we know who he means.
Yeah.
I could see. I mean, it's not a crazy stretch to say like they wanted Superman.
Yeah.
But it just works so well with Captain Marvel that it's one of those things where it's like,
I think it's better that it's Captain Marvel.
If it was that they were like, fuck, we can't use Superman, and they switched to Captain Marvel, it kind of exposes that the story wasn't as good before. I
think that might be the case.
Is it weird to see a whole big event with no Superman? I'd say yes.
Yeah.
But... And does it not work if Superman is the pure of heart one? Absolutely not. That would be an amazing, like, I love Superman as that kind of incorruptible thing. I think the story would work just fine, but it feels like it works so well as Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I truly don't know. It's a very good point to bring up. I don't know if this was a thing where they were setting it up for Superman and then they were told you couldn't, or if they were like, we know we can't, but let's play it up.
Yeah.
Superman is off-world but people think he's stuck in hell.
Totally.
We just do it that way. Like, I don't know which way it goes, but no. In universe, I don't believe there is a reason for them taking place at the same time. I don't think there's anything that Neron says like, now that Superman's off-world, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's none of that as far as I'm aware.
Awesome. Well, That was the last question.
Whoa.
If you'd like to have more chats about...
more chance?
Chats.
Oh, okay.
More discussion.
Right.
About all of the Underworld Unleashed events. Was there just like a regular Underworld, or was it always Underworld Unleashed? Is that the only?
It was just the name of the event.
Yeah. But there's not like Underworld, and now this is Underworld Unleashed.
No.
Okay. Because
it's not like a colon subtitle.
Okay. You can do so through our various social media platforms.
No, hang on. Nice try. Try to frame it like if you want to do this. Hey. Next week is Prescribed Reading Month, and you can send your questions for that because Richard knows what the books are for the first 3 weeks, and then we'll have the Golden Agers vote on the final week, of course.
That's right. Of course.
Hey, Richard, what's next week's... what are we reading next week? What's the episode?
Is that next
about?
week, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
That's crazy.
And I know you know that because you're ready.
That's right, I am.
Yeah. Let's have it.
Here's the thing. My memory's not great, and I have the books, but I left them at home. So I gotta go get them.
Right, yeah.
But we will have a book for next week.
Well, you already have it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know what? We've got time. Just take a little second to think about what it is.
It's all right.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I think everyone here is pretty patient. We're all friends here. No one minds if we do our due diligence and get this right. Let's get this right.
You know what?
If there's one thing I always insist on in this show, it's doing it right.
Well, you know by how much I show up to the podcast, how prepared I am in general.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not dealing with the downfall of any sort of circumstances that would make me unprepared for anything.
No, that doesn't sound like anything particular.
Nope.
At any rate.
Thank you, Yokro and Josh Gill.
Yeah.
But whatever that is, you can send the questions to our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our Twitter,
at Dr. DC,
our Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
You can send us an email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com,
or jump on our subreddit,
r/Dr_DC.
The doc phone is occasionally open.
208-917-3238.
It's sometimes open.
208-917-DCEU.
That's right.
If you're nasty enough.
Some night long. Some night. There's not really anything to look for, but what? You could friend us on TikTok.
Yeah, at Dr. DC. Is friending even a thing on TikTok?
I don't know.
Thanks, Dad.
You can.
How do I poke?
I'll tell you.
I mean, my TikTok.
Yeah, fuck. Some sort of shit I was sending you. Oh my god, yes. Yeah. Similar to Yeah.
I mean, kind of.
At least.
Yeah, okay. This is good content, by the way. Really love our dedication to the craft.
Oh yeah. The best.
We're gunning for a third Canadian Podcast Award.
This podcast. This stupid podcast. You just go on our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca,
which gives a 5-star review, and in the future we may read it on the show.
Well, we will.
Well, are we caught up? Though?
It's not if.
Are we caught up though?
I think we are.
Okay.
Oh, did I miss one?
I don't know. I didn't put it on today. But
I'm pretty sure we're caught up.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about it.
Also, if you want deep delving into my personal life, or you want to know what our favorite movie trilogies are, you can, a little spoiler alert for this week. You can subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Docscord, our awesome Discord fan community. And at the higher levels, you get bonus episodes like Richard's talking about. Next month for Prescribed Reading Month, we'll also be doing indie readings, like not even necessarily indie, but just non-DC readings on the Patreon.
That's right.
Each week. So that'll be going up there. And at the highest level, you get theme pools, you get bonus stuff.
Bomos.
Currently, Toretto Talks the Fast and Furious series that I'm doing with my sister.
Subscribe just for the parody songs.
Some great parody songs. I debuted an amazing character, Japanese Scooby-Doo, that in no way is problematic.
Nope. It actually surprisingly doesn't have to change that much.
No, that's kind of the most problematic part of it.
Yeah.
This week we're doing Ampersand, the fourth one, Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Speaking of parody songs, if you want to know what the real XXX parody of the Beatles is, why don't you subscribe to Ghostfacers?
Yeah, Supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW.
We're going through every single track of the Beatles, and
Eleanor Rigby down on her knees to receive a facial in the eye.
Sergeant Penis's
I aimed it too high.
Lonely Heart on.
You won't last 20 minutes now. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We're talking about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. We're into season 7 of 15 now.
Correctamundo.
It's actually kind of wild that we're like approaching the halfway mark of Supernatural.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's a lot of fun over there.
Because that was like the new show, and now we've been doing it for 3 years.
I know.
What the fuck?
And we also won an award there.
It's so stupid. God, I can't wait till the Canadian Podcast Awards gets the credit.
Unstoppable.
Yeah. Unlimited power. That is it for this week. I did not like the face you made before doing that. You were going to do something else and then stopped.
Here's the thing. I don't know what I was going to
do. Audios. I like that we're switching it now. It's fun.
Yeah, we're switch hitters, baby.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Is this happening?
Heroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.